Hi, everyone. Before we begin, I want to do a little house cleaning. This isn't directed at anyone in particular. I'm not like ranting. This isn't like an incel kind of thing. I just came. I heard about this article a couple of days ago on another podcast, and I had to read it because it just sounded like a fascinating story. This woman, I guess she, had a promiscuous past and then eventually realized like she was like straight up damaged, from her experiences. And you see this a lot nowadays. The whole hookup culture thing going in full swing, pun intended. Uh, Dating sites not helping at all. Like the dating sites are just ways for a lot of people to hook up, and the notion that a woman is, free, like, because she can sleep with whoever she wants, just like guys can sleep with whoever they want. But um, that's I don't think that should be glorified on either side. Like guys shouldn't be glorifying that either. For them to be promiscuous either. That's kind of a stereotype that's been going on for like forever. That guys will like congratulate each other that they've scored a bunch of times. I have never encountered that, but then I haven't had many guy friends. Like I've had a couple, but like that's not shit we talk about. Like we talk about like video games or movies, stuff we like. Like women hardly ever come up in conversation. And just this whole hookup culture has really degraded our society, and it's made it to where people avoid each other mostly. Like you rarely will a guy even approach a woman nowadays because like we might fear that we'll be me too'd or something. Something might come back at us, or we just figured like there's no point to it because it'll end for some stupid reason, or the woman just won't be interested at all. And a lot of these things could run through a guy's mind. Like he might like a girl, but he never approaches her just because he like believes like something's gonna go wrong. And it's a shame because men have always been looked upon as the ones to initiate the whole conversation, and now nobody's initiating. Like you look at the stats and on the dating sites, like it's mostly men on there, like not a lot of women. And the women that are on there are mostly doing it for the validation, for the likes and the matches. And like they might message somebody, but only just like a couple of times, and then just get bored with them, go on to the next one. And it's the same with guys. They'll start messaging somebody. They might get, if they get a match, if they ever get a match. They're lucky to even get a match. But anyways, aside from that, it's become very, very difficult to even start a family, uh, much less, well, yeah, to even like initiate the dating process, than to like start a traditional family, like a lot of people want to do. But yeah, it's so freaking hard nowadays. And this woman, Bridget Fedesi, I want to say is how you say that, wrote this article. It's a Substack article. I regret being a slut. Now, for I don't know, slut's kind of a buzzword. I'm going to use the terms hoe and rake. Now, for those who don't know, a hoe is generally, yeah, generally is a garden tool. Also refers to a woman who's promiscuous. Now, a man can be referred to as a rake. This comes from like Shakespeare's time. They called the guys who went through women a lot, a rake. Left them, you know, behind. Maybe left them with a child that they weren't going to raise. So yeah, If I refer to either one of them, I'll use one or both of those terms. Upon opening Louise Perry's new book, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution, A New Guide to Sex in the 21st Century, I'm moved to tears by the dedication. For the women who learned it the hard way. This might be a little weird because I'm, I'm a guy reading a woman's voice. But I don't know. Nowadays, they want to try to say there's no genders, that genders don't matter. So it just, yeah. Unlike many other people who have read and viewed Perry's work, reading her book wouldn't be some academic exercise in contemplating how liberal feminism has let women down, which it kind of has. It wouldn't be evaluating what those poor hoes over there have endured in the wake of the sexual revolution. Reading her book was personal. I'm one of those hoes. I'm a case study for her thesis, a cautionary tale. I knew this book was going to be difficult, and it made me realize it's time to finish this essay, one I've been trying to write for 4 years. It's a tough needle to thread. I'm grateful for the ability to control my reproductive cycle and make my own money, but that freedom has come at a price. The dark side of the sexual revolution is that even though it liberated women, unyoking sex from consequences has primarily benefited men. And let's be real, it does mostly benefit men because the women, you know, oftentimes will gain custody of the kids and they're solely the one taking care of them, and the men really don't have to take on any of the responsibility. They might pay child support, but that's about it. I was first inspired to write this piece when a 19-year-old woman I used to wait tables with asked me, Bridget, have you ever regretted having sex with a man? I laughed. Yeah, all of them. That's not entirely true. There was my first love in high school, and my first husband, and if I'm honest with myself, of the dozens of men I've been with, at least the ones I remember, I can only think of a handful I don't regret. The rest I would put in the category of casual, which I would define as sex that is either meaningless or mediocre, or both. If it get if I get really honest with myself, I'd say most of these usually drunken encounters left me feeling empty and demoralized and worthless. I wouldn't have said that at the time, though. At the time, I would have told you I was liberated, even while I tried to drink away the sick feeling of rejection when my most recent hookup didn't call me back. At the time, I would have said one night stands made me feel emboldened, but in reality, I was using sex like a drug, trying unsuccessfully to fill a hole inside me with men. Pun intended. I know regretting most of my sexual encounters is not something a sex positive feminist who used to write a column for Playboy is supposed to admit, and for years I didn't. Let me be clear, being a hoe and sleeping with a lot of men is not the only behavior I regret. Even more damaging was what I told myself in order to justify the fact that I was disposable to these men. I told myself I didn't care. Denial. I didn't care when a man ghosted me. I didn't care when he left in the middle of the night or hinted that he wanted me to leave. The walks of shame, the blackouts, the anxiety. The lie I told myself for decades was, I'm not in pain, I'm empowered. Looking back, it isn't a surprise that I lied to myself because from a young age, sex was something I was lied to about. Long before I ever had sex, I felt ashamed of my natural sexual urges and awkward in my blossoming female body. Growing up Catholic, all I remember about sex was feeling bad about it before I even knew what it was. I only knew that sex before marriage was wrong. Even the thought of a sexual act or masturbation filled me with debilitating guilt. The first time I kissed a boy, I was convinced I'd be punished, struck down by an angry, misogynistic God. Let me uh, let me jump in real quick. Guys will have the same kind of feelings. Growing up, growing up staunchly religious. I'm Catholic too, by the way. I was taught, that sex before marriage is not. It's a sin, But I believe if you really care for a person, it doesn't matter. I still I still get the guilty feeling though. I've only ever been with two people. I haven't told anybody else this, but I really did feel like I cared for them, at least in the moment. As I got older, I was told to guard my virginity. Well meaning mothers and aunts were clear that I needed to withhold sex in order to get a man to love and respect me. Sex was a commodity, a priceless gem I had to hang on to that increased in value the longer I held it. It made me feel like property. And although I don't think that was the intention of the wise women who had learned their own lessons the hard way, for me, sex became inextricably linked to my self worth. Yeah, that's not a healthy outlook to have. The shame and guilt I grew up with regarding sex felt oppressive. I resented the double standard that men could be promiscuous and it would raise their status, and a woman would be slut shamed for similar behavior. See, I think that's the media that plays into that kind of notion, that kind of uh, I know they do a lot of in a lot of movies, kind of make depict the men as these sex crazed animals, and some people are that way, both men and women. Like it's not just one sided, but the majority of people are not. Like the majority of people are more subdued and like they control their urges. My burgeoning sexuality would unfold as a reaction to these repressive religious orthodoxies, old school notions of sexual status, and trauma. I lost my virginity at 17 to my boss at a restaurant where I worked, and a year later I experienced my first sexual trauma. I felt damaged and dirty, and I blamed myself. Everyone responds differently to these situations. I dealt with the overwhelming shame by becoming hypersexual and promiscuous. The culture was right there to pick me up and dust me off. I doubled down on being a proud hoe and internalized the biggest and most damaging lie, that loveless sex is empowering. I basked in the girl power glow of that delusion for decades, weaponizing my sexuality while convincing myself I was full of the divine feminine. I was full of shit. I told myself that because I could seduce a man, I was powerful. But as Perry says in our book, women can all too easily fail to recognize that being desired is not the same thing as being held in high esteem. So you can have a billion guys tell you you're beautiful, you know, and tell you you're sexy and all that stuff. But if none of them actually mean it, then what's the point? Deep down inside, I knew that to be the case. But as a defense mechanism, I crafted a man-eater persona. My mantras were rigid. You can either have a career or a relationship, but you can't have both. Intimacy is creepy. Motherhood and children are a trap. Sex is only about power. Another Another set of lies built on trauma. Sex isn't just about power. It's also about intimacy and vulnerability and trust. Things I wanted nothing to do with, because implicit in modern dating is a complete lack of expectations, especially those of chivalry. Yes, you start off a lot of times dating with a lack of trust, yeah, a lack of expectations. Your expectations will be lower than low a lot of times. And chivalry is not dead; it's just on hiatus. Because well, it's on life support basically. Just because we've been told not to, pull out chairs or open the doors or you get up when a woman walks in the door. Whenever a man wanted to pick up the tab or pull out the chair or open the door, pick me up or take me to dinner or see me during the day or wait longer than the first date to have sex, I was shocked and suspicious of them. Was he a serial killer? It's like, no, he's just a gentleman. That's still a thing. It's rare, I guess, but yeah, for the guys actually dating, it's rare. Casual sex is fraught with insecurity and miscommunication. Intimacy and love are punchlines. When a man I slept with had the courtesy to reach out, I mistook relief for happiness, rewiring my brain to be grateful for the bare minimum. The saddest realization is how low I set the bar. See, like I said, that you set the bar really fucking low, so you won't be disappointed, and you're still disappointed. Somebody said that about the She-Hulk show, by the way. A lifetime of allowing myself to be the other woman, taken for granted or treated like a doormat under the false pretense of being empowered, came to a head one night with the arrival of a text message from an on again, off again lover. "Good night, baby, I love you," it said, quickly followed by "wrong person." Damn. Oh man. Rock bottom doesn't always look like losing everything or ending up in jail. Sometimes it can be that sick feeling in your gut when you know emotionally you're done. I wanted to be able to have meaningless sex like a guy, but it didn't work. After years of writing for Playboy, I've learned it doesn't work for a lot of men either. Exactly. Like men will feel empty and, just like what is the point after all? After going through this for so long, a rake will feel like his life, has really no meaning. Like if he's just on his own and just racking up a body count, like what is the point to your existence? For years I tried, unsuccessfully, not to catch the feels. Even that expression is so telling about the way emotions are viewed regarding relationships, as if they're a cold or the flu or some kind of sickness you need to get over. Yeah, I never understood the phrase either. Like, you're treating this as if it's a disease or, something you want to get rid of. I'm not speaking for all women. I know many women with a solid sense of self who happily have loveless sex. This piece won't make them defensive, but a lot of women will read this and bristle, just like I did when I used to read something that pushed back on the lie I'd built my entire identity around. See, it is earth shattering for some people to have to question their beliefs sometimes, but that's the point of conversation. Sometimes, to like bounce ideas off of each other. Or maybe you're a trans or non binary person reading this thinking, what quaint ideas about gender and sex this old trad con has. And to that, I'll say it makes sense to me that the generation of young women who have experienced and borne witness to some of the worst side effects of unyoking sex from consequence and love that Perry meticulously outlines in her book, rough sex, hookup culture, and ubiquitous porn, would take a look around and decide, yeah, I didn't even mention porn. Like, that's really debilitated relationships nowadays, too because both sides will have these super high expectations sexually about the other the other person, and they won't always be met. I'd rather be a man, or more accurately, I'd rather not be a woman. Yeah, by the way, porn is not real life. I'm just saying, like people don't actually have sex like that unless their points are. But maybe it's the inevitable conclusion to the sexual revolution. Today's youth are being fed an even more dangerous lie than the one that I was fed about loveless sex. I was told sex doesn't matter. They're being told biology doesn't matter. This is a tragedy. I'm not suggesting we return to some Victorian era notion of sex or some 1950s era ideal about gender roles. I'm now 43 years old and I'm in the first truly healthy, intimate relationship in my life with my second husband. We recently had a daughter, and in the wake of her birth, I've been thinking a lot about the conversations I'm going to have with her and the conversations I wish I could go back in time and have with a young Bridget. I'd tell her, sex can be empowering when you're coming from a position of healthy self esteem. If you're coming from a place of trauma or insecurity, casual sex won't heal that. In fact, it might set you back and undermine any progress regarding your feelings of self worth. If you know your value, you're less likely to sleep with someone who doesn't value you. Cherish yourself, and you will be cherished. This goes for men and women. You shouldn't have to withhold sex for a man to respect you, or, you know. See, women just expect men to, right off the bat, want sex. It's not. It's like, we don't always have that mindset. You know, we, some of us want to woo the other person and actually get them to like us before we jump into bed. We want to get to know them too. I know it's an alien concept, but some men are still gentlemen. Yeah, it's not about waiting until you're in love to have sex. It's about making sure that first you love yourself. Sexual empowerment has nothing to do with how many people you do or don't sleep with. It has to do with how comfortable you are in your own skin, no matter your decision. Don't ignore that nagging gut instinct telling you sexual liberation leaves you feeling unfulfilled. You can still be sex positive and accept that for you. Sex can't be liberated from intimacy in a meaningful relationship. I regret being a hoe. I regret it because I regret that those men can say they slept with me. Still, that's how I know I finally value myself. Every woman should feel this way. Sleeping with me is a privilege, and you have to be worthy. Men, also, need to have this mindset. You shouldn't be giving, giving the dick out to every woman you meet. Like, you need to value yourself too. And I thought this article was I don't know, very timely because more people more people need to have her mindset. But it seems like nowadays the younger generation don't want to be told wise words like that. They want to just do what they want. So I guess they have to be left to their own devices and learn themselves. They'll learn the harsh lessons by going through the same thing that this woman did. Probably, maybe when they're in their 40s, or hopefully as early as their 30s, they'll learn that uh, meaningless sex is just that, meaningless, and you won't get any kind of you might get temporary pleasure out of it, but you won't get any kind of actual satisfaction out of it. Uh, Better to pursue an actual relationship. Like, if you're polyamorous or whatever, I mean, that's fine. That's up to you. I'm not judging you for your life choices, your partner choices, whatever. But um, there's just something about the love between a man and a woman that it kind of transcends like time and space. Like, I can't describe it really. And just between two people in general, like the love can be so intense that it doesn't matter how far away you are on the globe. Like, you'll still want to go and meet in the middle, and you'll still think back on that person after they're gone, miss them, whether they left you or they died. And you don't choose who you fall in love with. You really don't. So I think Bridget did society a service by writing this article. I just wanted to point it out, and I know it might make some people mad. I know some people are like staunchly against traditional kind of relationships, but I thought it was worth it to get this out there, get more attention on this article, and thanks for watching.